Welcome back to another GeoGuessr tips video. I haven't done those in a while, and this time I will be talking about some advanced tips that I haven't talked about before. Some of these tips you can use in country battle to distinguish which country you're in. Some of these tips you can use in distance battle to determine in which part of the country you are in. So let's get to it. So let's start with Canada. I sometimes struggle to determine if the location is in Canada or in the USA. But here are some guidelines. It's not like 100%, but you can use these guidelines to maybe lean towards one or the other. So if you get a location like this, it is more likely Canada, because in Canada you will more often see Generation 2 camera. That's one thing you see often in Canada. Another thing you will see more often in Canada are the wooden signposts. You can see them in the USA as well, keep that in mind, but they are more often found in Canada. And the third thing in this location that would make me think that this is probably Canada is this gravel road. In the USA, most roads will be nicely paved. However, in Canada, you can pretty often see these gravel roads, which sets it apart from the USA. And this is another Canadian location, and here you can see this single solid yellow line in the middle. It will be less common in the USA. In USA, you will more often see double yellow lines in the middle. Let's move on to Latin American electricity counters. You can spend the whole day studying them, but I will show you the two that I found the most useful to know and the easiest to notice as well. So this one is the Mexican electricity counter. It's like this round circular one which sticks out of the building. You can also see these electricity counters, I believe, in Dominican Republic and in Puerto Rico and Guatemala. However, in those other countries, there's usually some other method that sets those countries apart. So if you notice this electricity counter, it's very likely to be Mexico. Although I think I've seen it once in Ecuador, but it's definitely not often there. And in Peru, you can often see these electricity counters where you can see these narrow, like horizontal slots. Like there can be like either 2 or 3 of these. I have not seen electricity counters like this in any other Latin American country. So if you notice these horizontal stripes on the electricity counter, then it is Peru. As most of you already know, Kenya is pretty easy to be told apart by this snorkel that you have. But if you are playing an MPZ, no moving, panning and zooming, and you don't see the snorkel, for example, this Safaricom is a good clue. I believe this Safaricom company is found only in Kenya. You can see it quite a lot around. It's like a telecommunications company there. So if you see this Safaricom advertisement somewhere, it's a pretty good sign that you are in Kenya. Let's move on to Europe now, and let's begin with Spain. In Europe, you can tell quite a few countries apart using the guardrails. I will be only showing you guys the Spanish guardrail right now, but you can do your own research, have a look how the other guardrails look like. Serbian guardrail is pretty different, for example, but this is how the Spanish one looks like. If you see this yellow reflector, I'm pretty sure that only Spain has a yellow reflector. It can have some other colors as well, but if you see a yellow reflector, then you can be pretty sure that you are in Spain. Well, since I mentioned the Serbian guardrails, I might as well quickly show you them. So here they are. As you can see, they look quite, I don't know, edgy. I don't know how to describe them, but I think you can pretty easily tell them apart from the Spanish ones that we just saw. Next, I want to tell you guys about the pedestrian crossing signs. Again, almost every single European country has a unique pedestrian crossing sign. So if you learn them all, then you can basically tell European countries apart way more easily. In this video, I will be showing you only 3 of these pedestrian crossing signs that I find particularly useful. But if you want, you can have a look yourself at the other ones and improve your knowledge even more. So this is the Spanish one. This is the Spanish one, and it is pretty unique because it has like 8 lines, I believe. As you can see, it has lots of these like lines below this man. Andorra also has the same one. Keep that in mind. So Spain and Andorra has this sign with lots and lots of these lines. Let's move on to Sweden and Finland. Sometimes I personally struggle to determine, is it Sweden, is it Finland? And I know some of you can struggle as well. And pedestrian crossing signs can come in handy. So for example, this is Sweden. In Sweden, this pedestrian crossing sign will have 4 lines. As you can see, here are 4 lines. And in Finland it has 5 lines. So that's a good clue how to tell them apart. And in Estonia, pedestrian crossing sign has only 3 lines. So that's also a good way to tell apart Finland from Estonia. Next, I want to mention the Latvian soil, which is a pretty okay way to tell apart Latvia from Estonia and Lithuania, for example. So let's have a look at a rural road in Latvia. Here it is. As you can see, the soil, well, looks like this. A little bit brownish, right? Little bit brownish. Let's compare it to the Lithuanian soil. And the Lithuanian soil is a lighter color. Usually though, this is not like 100% thing. If you can find some better clues, stick to them. But if you have nothing else to go by, you can use this soil color to tell these Baltic countries apart. Let's move on to Czechia. I know some people struggle to tell Czechia and Slovakia apart, including myself sometimes. One good tip to tell them apart is to look for these arrows pointing either left, right, or to the front. As far as I know, these arrows are unique to Czechia, so if you see them, you can be sure you are in Czech Republic. The next place I want to tell you guys about is Vienna. As many of you know, Vienna comes up a lot in distance battles, so knowing this is super helpful. And the thing I want to talk about is Vienna district numbers. You must have noticed a lot of these signs with this number in front. This number represents the district number. And here is the map of Vienna districts. It might take a little while to remember them all, but once you do, it is super helpful in distance battles. So we had district number 7 here, which is located right here. This is the Vienna center, which is located like to the east, a little bit southeast of the center. So if we go back here, as you can see, it is right there as expected. I will leave the link to that map in the description as well. And the last thing in Europe that I want to talk about is Hungarian road numbering system. It is very convenient, the best road numbering system in Europe in my opinion. So for example, you are in Hungary and you find a road number 34. So if you find the road number, you can head directly to the map, and it's hard to see because of these blue stripes, but in Hungary the roads are grouped together by the first digit in their number. So all of the roads starting with 1 are right here, like 10, 11, 117, 102, then 2s are here, then 3s, etc. Like here are 6s, 3s, 4s, etc. So we found 34, we can immediately head to like the area where there are 3s and look for 34th there. Even if you can't find 34, you can just plonk it somewhere there, and you know that you will have a good score. Let's move on to Malaysia now. Let's move on to Malaysia. Sometimes, me included, people struggle with distinguishing Malaysia and Indonesia. One good clue, if you don't see any bollards or you can't tell apart is it a Malaysian or Indonesian license plate, then a good clue is to look for the center lines. If you see double solid center lines, it means that you are in Malaysia. Keep in mind that if you see a single solid line, it could be either one. You can see single solid lines in both Malaysia and Indonesia, but double one, it is Malaysia. Let's now have a quick look at Taiwan. Since not many people speak Chinese, people often don't know where to guess in Taiwan. And a big help can be phone numbers. So in Taiwan, sometimes you can notice these phone numbers, and what you want to pay attention to is the first 2 digits. The first 2 digits represent the area where the phone should be. There are some exceptions, of course. The phones can be elsewhere, but like most of the time, these phone codes will represent the area of Taiwan that you are in. So here are the phone area codes. They are pretty easy to learn. In general, they start with 2 and then go all the way down to the south. So the higher that first number is, the lower in Taiwan you should be. So for example, this phone started with 04. So we can go back here and have a look. And it indeed was in this number 4 area. Again, the link to that map in the description. Next, I want to tell you a tip how to tell Australia and New Zealand apart, since sometimes it might be a struggle. A good tip is to look for these giveaway signs. In Australia, this giveaway text will be black. In New Zealand, the giveaway text is red. And the last things I want to mention are some Australian poles, the ones that I personally use and recognize. So the first one is up in this Darwin area, right in the north of Australia. Here we have these dark brownish poles with holes in them. Some holy poles in Australia. So they look like this. And if you see these dark poles, then you can be pretty sure that you are in the northern part of Australia. And we have some poles in South Australia as well. And they look like this. Also, pretty unique. If you see these poles, you can be sure that you are in South Australia with these like brown or almost sometimes they look black like sides. And also like on the top, at the top they become more narrow. I hope you found these tips useful, and if you did, please leave a like on this video, it really helps out the channel. Do you want to become even better at GeoGuessr? A playlist with more tip videos will appear on your screen shortly. If you know some more tips, leave them in the comments below. Huge thanks to all of the members for supporting this channel. If you would like to become a member yourself and maybe watch me film these videos live, click that join button below this video. I hope we all have a wonderful day, be kind to one another, and see you in the next video.